Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the BT7 artillery, which was one of the most OP tanks at tier 3 back in the good old days 3 years ago. Let me explain the history of the tank real quick. This tank was given out by World of Tank Blitz for New Year Eve like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember exactly the exact date, but we don't really care. All I want you to understand here is that this tank was given out to literally every single player in the game, and it was broken. So just imagine what it looked like in game when you were playing against this or even with this tank. Now, the main thing about this tank is probably that its HE penetration is above its AP penetration, which makes it a tank that you want to play nearly full HE. And here, by the way, I do a mistake because I should actually play it like that. You are never gonna shoot with AP with this tank. But hey, I talk, but you want proof. You want proof of how the tank performs and how OP it was? No problem, I got you, boy. So, concerning the tank, we go back in time 3 years ago. As I told you, the tank was given out by Wargaming completely for free for the New Year Eve. And back in the days, the main strength of this tank was its mobility, but mainly its gun. Because with this gun, guys, you had 250 alpha damage with HE. Just imagine 250 alpha damage at tier 3. You could destroy literally everything. It was a 2-shot for every single tier 3 in this game, which makes it a completely broken tank. Nothing would stand against you. And knowing you have one of the best penetration with HE and overall one of the best penetration you could have at tier 3, it was so freaking easy for you to penetrate. You just had to circle a little bit the tanks, and if you managed to get them on the side or the rear, it was completely over. Just look at the Edsa here, how he's gonna get completely destroyed with an HE. Just look at the alpha damage. Boom, boom, boom. 216 alpha damage done on that Edsa. That's just insane. And imagine, as it was given out for free, everybody played it. Just imagine the matchmaking was filled with BT7 artillery, which made it one of the most broken tanks in the existence, and it's literally condemned tier 3 play style for around, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks time for people to get annoyed by playing over and over the tank. But it stays one of the biggest mistakes Wargaming ever did, especially for low tier. And I'm glad they did it at low tier. Just imagine if they did the same at tier 7. Smasher. But you get the spirit. That was really an insane tank. And I didn't lie to you when I told you that the HE penetration was better on this tank than the AP penetration. Just look at how many HE this guy is carrying right now. 28. He literally doesn't play with the AP at all. Why should you bother playing with AP when you have an HE that penetrates more? I want to remind you that with your HE shell you do more module damage, which means you increase your chances of burning down a tank or even ammo racking it. You also double your alpha damage because it went from 125 to 250. There were no freaking point of playing this tank with AP. Everybody played it with HE, and due to its amazing alpha damage, even for the few moments where you couldn't penetrate, you just had to switch to HE and you were sure to do damage regardless of the penetration. And that's what made this tank completely awesome back in the days. And I don't know if Wargaming nerfed the mobility, because I know they changed 1 or 2 things about the mobility of the BT7 during those 3 years. So I'm expecting them to, as both tanks are sharing the same hull, that Wargaming also worked on the BT7 artillery. But that's one of the few premium tanks that Wargaming actually nerfed. And it was a first, not a first time, because they also nerfed the Helsing back in the days, but that was the second time they actually nerfed this tank, because they had to, let's be honest. If they did not nerf this tank, it would have been a nightmare for literally everybody. Nowadays, the tank is not performing as great as it did back in the good old days, simply because Wargaming nerfed 2 things. They nerfed the HE penetration that went from something like 60 millimeters to only 40 maximum, and they also nerfed the alpha damage. That dropped down from 225 or 250 to only 150, which makes this tank a little bit more balanced, because nowadays it's harder to penetrate, but it's also harder to do one shots or two shots on tier 3. But you're still competitive, don't mind me, because I think to compensate for the lack of HE damage it has right now, they increased just a little bit the gun handling. But I might be wrong on this one, so take it carefully. Now, as you can see, if you are falling with lightly armored tanks at tier 3, you shouldn't struggle too much. You're gonna see in this game, it's quite easy for me to do my damage, to get around circle, not to get bothered too much by the opponents. Of course, we are at tier 3, so we're not facing great tanks. We are facing either great players. We're just facing new players most of the time, which are quite easily destroyed because they don't care about me. Just you're gonna see here with the Cruise and the BT7. But overall, what I want you to understand is that nowadays the tank is only the shadow to what it used to be back in the greatest age of the BT7 archery. Unfortunately, I had this tank in the meta when it was completely broken, but I did not play too much because I'm not a big fan of low tier. For those of you who are following the channel for a long time, you know that. But oh boy, should I have played it more, and I didn't. I should have played it more, literally. But hey, we all do mistakes. For mine, it's not playing the BT7 artillery. For Wargaming, it's releasing the Smasher the first time for 25 euros. That's how it is, isn't it? So yeah, as you can see here, no problem, simply because we are facing lightly armored opponents. But let's see what happens when we switch to a game where we are playing against really armored tanks or even just regular tier 4. Here, it's not gonna be the same. You're gonna see how big of a struggle it can be. I'm gonna advance a little bit the replay because we don't see to watch anything. Here, Alecto, no problem to penetrate, but you're gonna see against the Panzer III, etc., how hard it is to play this tank currently, especially knowing that with the new Battle Pass, Wargaming is implementing back the AMX-40, which is among the most armored tier 4 in the game. And when you shoot only HE that have a better penetration than your AP, if you can penetrate with HE, you're not gonna penetrate with AP. And trust me, in this game, we didn't penetrate anybody. We struggled penetrating because of how hard it became for the HE to be effective. Nowadays, it's more splash damage that you should count on when you're playing this tank than regular shots or anything. And that makes it boring to play, and that's why you see less and less BT7 artillery in the game. And I'm pretty sure even you guys, most of you that are watching this video, I'm pretty sure there is at least one or two people that never saw one BT7 artillery in the game. Now is your chance, as you can see. I don't think you passed, you didn't miss anything, let's say it like this, because that tank nowadays is just shit. Look at the struggle. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. The German tanks, you can't penetrate them. Look at the struggle, guys. Look, it's not possible to penetrate. It's orange literally everywhere, and even if I circle the tank, I wouldn't have been able to penetrate. So you're just stuck with a tank that struggles penetrating, and you really need to find angles for you to be able to shoot the right angle to the circle. Let's say that the playstyle of the tank changed. It went from a tank that you can play really aggressively to a tank you need to play smartly by circling, etc. And knowing the overall replay and playstyle of people at tier 3, most of the time you're gonna end up with teams camping, not moving, and therefore making your tank useless, because if your enemies don't move from the spawn, you are gonna be completely useless. That's pretty much what this tank is all about. Thank you all for watching the video. I don't have anything else to say concerning this tank. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And I'm gonna see you soon for a new video, hoping maybe to talk about a new tank. See ya, guys.